Bring the museum back to life.
You know, people sit out on the front porch hoping people will come by.
Go forth and do good. It's insane. I have the most understanding wife in the world.
I treat everybody the same thing.
Oh, that's the other thing I love about Marietta. It's like a melting pot.
You are listening to Marietta Stories. Each week, veteran podcaster Bill Nowicki brings you the heartwarming, interesting, and fun stories from the people that make the community of Marietta, Georgia, a place to call home. Here's your host, Bill Nowicki.
I got YouTube star Aaron Marino with me. He has 2.9 million subscribers on Alpha M, is his YouTube channel. He also lives in Marietta, Georgia. So I'm excited to get to know him a little bit better. I've met him in Starbucks. So I'm excited to get to know him a little bit better. So welcome, Aaron Marino, to Marietta Stories Podcast.
Bill, thank you so much for having me and for stopping by the office. This is really exciting for me. I have fallen head over heels in love with Marietta, and it's sort of become, you know, I can't imagine living anywhere else. And so I'm really excited to do this. So thank you so much. Yeah,
I'm excited to learn why you love Marietta, because I have my own theory of why I love it. And by the way, I don't look at you because I want to be like the listener. Yeah. It helps me with the listener experience. But anyway, I want to start from the beginning with you. And your brand is all about helping guys with not only the way they look, but fitness and skincare and hair care and just the whole picture. But I know I read a little bit about your story on your website, and it seems like it started very, very young for you. This whole caring about how you look.
That doesn't sound good. That sounds a little bit vain, but yeah, basically, you know, I was one of the lucky few that from the age of 12, I knew what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I knew that I wanted to own a fitness center. And so everything I did from that point forward was geared towards, you know, opening my fitness center. I don't want to get too into like the weeds in terms of like personal like history, but
no, that's why I want to get into the weeds because I do, because that's your story, man. Yeah. I want to hear it.
And so it was, you know, I come from a broken home, and the best gift that my mother ever gave me, I wanted a fitness membership, and so I didn't necessarily have the best home life, but when I went to the gym, I felt great about myself. And it was sort of like somewhere where, you know, I could forget all the sort of crappy things that were going on just with growing up and dealing with stepfathers and stuff. And so, you know, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And so I graduated from college. My degree was in business management with a minor in marketing and community health promotion. And I was moving to Atlanta. I was going to open my fitness center. And took a detour. I started working as a personal trainer at a Bally's Health Club off of, North Lake, off of, I think it was La Vista Road. And I met a gentleman, and he was the manager, and he wanted to know if I would be interested in opening up a nutrition store with him. It wasn't a fitness center, but it was close. It was closer in that direction. And then I think in my heart, in my mind, I've always been an entrepreneur. It's just been in my blood and my DNA from a very young age. And so went out and we moved up to Kennesaw, and we opened a nutrition store in the Dick's Shopping Center. And we were very successful right away. We opened 2 locations in the span of a year. And then I decided to leave because he was actually selling drugs out of the back. And I realized a few things, you know, that prison wouldn't be a place that I would flourish. I'd be popular, but I wouldn't do well. And so I ended up leaving and taking another job as a personal trainer at another fitness center locally. And while I was at the nutrition store, I met a woman who I helped lose 100 pounds. And so she was so inspired by this. She had a great job. You know, she was a technical writer. She came to me one day and said, hey, I want to help other people do what you helped me do. And so she said, would you like to go into business with me and open a personal training studio? And it was like, yes, that was it. I was closer to that.
No drugs though. You told her
no drugs, but it turned out worse. Oh no. Yeah. So it We opened up a personal training studio, and it should have been an omen, but we signed the lease on September 11th, as in like the September 11th. And that was pretty much the foreshadowing of how the business would ultimately end up turning out. And so I did the fitness center for a while, and we sold the business to somebody. We started this new group fitness concept that we were sure was going to be where we found our fame and fortune. It was right around the times when Curves was starting to be really big. And so my business partner and one of our main investors had a big falling out, and we ended up having to go through all sorts of legal issues and trying to get him out of the business. And at this point, I was taking money off of my credit cards to finance my employee's salary. And I was at this point working at Indian Hills Golf Course, driving a beer cart on weekends just to put gas in my car and to give my then girlfriend, my now wife, just some money to basically make ends meet. And it was pretty brutal. We ended up shutting down the business and filing bankruptcy. It was, by that point I had, $400,000 in debt, all sorts of business loans and, credit card debt as a result of trying to keep a business afloat when it probably should have ended a while ago. And it was probably the lowest point in my life and career, driving a beer cart at the age of, 30, 31 years old and having everything that you knew was your dream pretty much taken away. And it was at that point where it was a very scary time for me because I didn't know what was next. I'm the type of person where I go 100%, plan A all the time, until I realize that, hey, this plan A is crashing and burning and it's time to figure something else out. And so I had to figure something out. And my wife gave me a video camera. Actually, before that, I started an image consulting business, helping guys with dressing and grooming. I looked online, and one of the things I realized is that there weren't really great resources out there for regular guys just to get basic advice on, hey, I don't care what's happening on the runways of Milan and Paris. I just want to know what looks good on me, and will chicks dig it? And so I started an image consulting business. I was moonlighting as a personal trainer, or I should say I was a personal trainer on the side, moonlighting as an image consultant. And in 2008, my wife gave me a video camera, and I decided to try and figure it out. And I posted my first YouTube video, and that's kind of when everything sort of just took off. And there's been no looking back ever since.
Well, the interesting thing, it seemed like the business ventures is you tended to get in with folks that probably looking back, you shouldn't have, and maybe some vetting would have helped. But what would you say, are you pretty much in control of all the aspects of your business now? Is it just you?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I wouldn't go back and do any of it over again. And they were lessons, obviously, that I had to learn. Moving forward, you would think that I do background checks and stuff now. And funny enough, I have right now I have 6 businesses, and I've got business partners in 3 of them. And I didn't do background checks on any of them, but they're all, as of right now, they're really great guys. But yeah, I think that's one of the important things for business owners. If you're going in and you're getting into a business relationship, it's more important to do your due diligence and to really make sure that you are on the same page and that this person, because honestly, a marriage is easier to get out of a lot of times than a business. And if you compound that with being a successful business, it's even more difficult. And so, yeah, definitely be careful.
All right, let's talk about the moment you kind of knew the YouTube channel was going to take off. What was that like? So you just posted a couple of videos and then did they take off right away?
No. I never knew. I'm a overnight success that took 8 years, basically. It's that old, saying. It never really was this like crazy spike of traffic or subscribers. It was a very gradual sort of build. And at the time when I started it, I had no idea about making money, that you could make money off of YouTube, or that this platform that was relatively new. When I got into YouTube in 2008, I think it was like 2 years old at that point. And so, lots of cat videos and stuff like that, but it was a very new sort of untapped market. And so I was lucky, just dumb luck, that I fell into it. And then I'm, I guess, hard-headed enough to keep doing something that I really just enjoyed. When I started it and I got my first or somebody actually made a response, or I posted a video on like Men's Style. And in the comment section, somebody asked me a question, and that's all it took. I was hooked. I felt like I found my voice and my home, something that I had been searching for, I think, for my entire life. And so it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. And what's different, though, is like you started that businesses initially, and you get feedback because you're able to see the product leave the shelves and you're talking to people what they really need. How did that evolve for you on the YouTube channel?
You know, I realized at first when I started a YouTube channel, I realized that, wait a second, I've got this big audience and I could probably leverage this audience and sell them something. And so when I started, it was all info products. You know, it was ebooks and virtual services. But I very quickly found out that I really didn't like selling those type of products. And so I went on Shark Tank the first time with my first big e-product called the Alpha M Style System, which that dinosaur is actually sitting over on the shelf. And, you know, and so it was after being on Shark Tank with that product and really getting the feedback from them that, hey, you know, this probably isn't that great of a product. I mean, and, you know, I fell into the trap that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners do, is that they fall in love with their idea and they don't listen to feedback. It's like, well, you know, I think I'm right. Well, if your customers are telling you something else, it's probably best that you listen.
Well, yeah. And what's cool about online businesses is you can easily adapt. So you're not leveraged to a location. You're not leveraged to a brick and mortar and the rent and all that stuff. You really have a lot of freedom to play. So tell me, from the initial part, how did you start getting feedback and accepting that feedback and really helping folks out more than that you did in the beginning? What kind of things did you switch up?
When I first started the YouTube channel, it was all about style. It was all about men's style. But the truth is, I don't know all that much. I know enough. I know a little bit more than my friends. So, you know, hey, act like an expert and you're an expert, right? But through the feedback and over the years, I feel like there was so much more. It next transitioned into grooming. From grooming, it turned into etiquette, and then, you know, social graces and just helping guys in every facet of their life. And really it's the feedback and the consumers and my audience just giving me, you know, content and praise that really sort of has helped my business and the offerings of my business sort of evolve.
So do you remember any specific guy that really, do you remember that really kind of touched you, or you thought you're really onto something?
Yeah, it was probably, I got a Father's Day card a few years ago, and it was basically a young boy who was, I think, like 15 at the time, basically wrote me a Father's Day card. I get choked up talking about it, but it's, you know, he was saying that basically thanking me because I taught him more than his alcoholic, abusive father. So that was pretty emotional.
Yeah, and it sounds like it touches the chord with you too, having a broken home growing up. I got to talk to some of the real estate agents at Johnny Walker Realty. One of them was Shannon Van Horn, and this is what she had to say about working with Johnny and Carrie.
I've been with a couple different brokers, but this is by far my favorite. Literally nothing that they haven't been able to find an answer for me. If they don't have the answer, they're going to talk to each other and figure out an answer and then get back to us. When I tell people that I'm now at Johnny Walker Realty, there's nobody that doesn't know who they are. So that's nice.
Real estate agents that are happy do better for their clients and the business. That's what I think is helping Johnny Walker Realty grow so quickly. Remember, they're at 262 Church Street, just down from the square. Check them out. So tell me, because you were on, this is probably embarrassing, but you were on that show, gosh, I just forgot the name.
Fear Factor.
Fear Factor. And that, I watched that episode this morning. It is so scary to me. I was on submarines and it's still scary that you had to get this hood on your head and then take off handcuffs. How did you get on the show? And then what was it like to be on that show? Was that the first TV show you're on?
Yeah, Fear Factor was just one of those things where I've realized over the years that I have a superpower. If I had a superpower, it's getting on reality television show. The problem is staying on them. I'm not very good at staying on them. And so I was a big fan of the show, and my business partner at the time, her husband was also a fan. He said to me one day, he's like, you should go on. And so I said, like, well, figure out how. And literally, as luck had it, 2 days later, there was an open casting audition in Atlanta, down in Buckhead. And so I just showed up with all the other people, stood in line, filled out an application, went and did my little, audition. And I ended up getting that. And it was so exciting, but at the same time, it was really just a nerve-wracking, scary experience. And that first stunt that they had us do, where we were zipped up in a body bag with handcuffs, dropped in a tank of water, it was, people used to give me crap about it. Like, oh, you only lasted, you couldn't get, I said, come here, I got to pull handcuffs in a bag. Let's go. Let's see how tough you are. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So you got on reality TV for there, but the Shark Tank episodes, you were on twice. And I watched them both, and I was amazed because you watch Shark Tank, you see people take this big, deep breath before they walk out. And it didn't seem like you were that hesitant. Am I missing something? I was trying to read you. It seemed like you were fairly confident going out there in front of those folks.
It's well, good. I'm glad it looked like that. I was about to wet my pants both times. No, by the time I'm a big fan of practice and visualization. And so by the time I actually was there doing the episode, I had been in front of those sharks in my mind 1,000,000 times. And so, it's one of those things where if you're prepared, you got to, it definitely helps with the nerves and with all of the jitters that go into it. But that was my sweet spot because I make YouTube videos. I mean, that was like the Super Bowl for me. It's like turn on the cameras. My wife jokes that the most dangerous place in the room is between me and a camera. And so I don't think that's a good thing, and so it was really just, that was it for me. It was just, I was in my zone. I created, over 3,000 videos. I'm very comfortable talking and delivering a message in front of an audience. And so let me do it. And it's like, put me in, coach. I was ready.
Well, you know what I loved about what I saw from you, which if you watch some folks that aren't as well prepared, they almost go through, okay, I'm going to say this script. I hear this question. It's not really answering the question. I'm going to go through this script. It almost seemed like you were at an even playing field with the sharks. You were able to interact with them like it was natural, like you and I are talking now. Is that just from preparation?
It's from preparation, just being confident in, I know what I'm doing, and I've seen what bad is, and this is an opportunity for me to, I feel like I'm on the same level as all of the sharks, regardless of what they've done. I feel like what I've done is in my mind is equally as impressive, and so nobody intimidates me like that, and so it was a very comfortable situation.
Well, that's great. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about is your YouTube videos are very, you don't mind showing a little bit about vulnerability, like you mess around with your girlfriends and stuff like that. Did you start out being that way, or did that kind of evolve too?
That evolved as well. It was funny because when I started YouTube, I was looking at other successful YouTubers, and I thought, actually, I've taken a lot of the videos down that I used to have up because I'm embarrassed of the way that I sort of projected and portrayed myself. I said things just to try and be racy and edgy, and it was the moment that I kind of just dropped the shtick and just got honest and real and vulnerable to some degree, that everything sort of changed. And that was the moment at which people sort of, I think, kind of embraced me, and I embraced, me as well.
But, I find it cathartic for me to do these podcast episodes because I edited, now I don't as much, but I edit a lot of my podcasts. And in the beginning, I would sit, I don't know, probably the same thing for you. I was like physically pained by hearing myself interview somebody. It's like, am I that bad a listener? And I'd be like, oh God. And I felt like redoing it. It's like, no, I'll just put it out there because I was on the weekly thing. And, But going through that was the best thing. And it's not just doing the podcast. Now I know that I do it in real life. And I'll tell myself, be the podcaster, Bill, because you're not listening worth a crap.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there a question in there?
No.
But thank you.
No. Well, but the vulnerability aspect and connecting with people is a real important part of how you built your brand. So getting to 3 million subscribers, I don't know when you swapped to being more vulnerable and real and stuff like that, but I'm sure that was a big part of how you grew the brand.
That was the absolute tipping point. It was a shift, and everything sort of grew from there. And, there's no going back now. But that being said, one of the other things, being on YouTube and putting myself out there in this capacity has forced me to be a better person. And the reason for that is because I don't want to let down, the 14 or 15-year-old boy, or I don't want to portray something on film or on the computer that I'm not doing in real life. I don't want to be a hypocrite. That's one of the biggest things that drives me crazy about a lot of these, public figures and just people in general, is being a hypocrite. It's like, no, it's like walk the walk. If you are going to, I'm not perfect, obviously, and I definitely screw stuff up all the time. And, I fail still at a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, I try my best and I do the best that I have to work with. But yeah, YouTube has made me a better person.
So tell me about, because a lot of folks that are listening to this from Marietta don't know what a typical day would be like for Aaron Marino. Tell me about like stuff you're doing on a typical day. Like today's Tuesday, correct? Tuesday. Yeah. I'm off this week, so I'm losing track of the days. But what would you do at a typical Tuesday?
I am a creature of habit and schedule. And so every morning I get up, 5:30, 6, sometimes I sleep in a little bit. I'll go to the local Starbucks on the square. And that's when I am my most productive, because I don't have the interruptions of phone calls and conference calls and emails. That time allows me to sort of center myself and, get a lot of busy work done. And I write my video. The most important thing I do every day is film a video. And so I am somebody who writes every single video. All the journals on the shelf are all my videos over the years. And so, so I write my video. Once that's done around 8:30, I will go and exercise, typically, come back, eat breakfast, and then my day starts around 11:30 at the office. Come in, take care of stuff I need to take care of, and then I start filming my video. Then usually it's conference calls and editing my videos. I still am somebody who enjoys the process of creating the content. And so I don't have an editor, which would, speed the process up. But I have a system in place where I can pretty much turn around a video in terms of writing, filming, editing in about 2.5 hours. And so 2.5 hours of my day is dedicated to that. And then the rest of the time is dealing with my businesses, conference calls, running the businesses. Ultimately, in the evening, I will go and exercise, come home, hang out with my wife, and then usually I'm on the computer until about 10 o'clock, just figuring some stuff out, and then hit the sack. But that's pretty much Monday through Friday what it looks like.
Great. Now let's look to wrap things up. But I want to talk about your relationship with Marietta. How did you end up here, and why do you continue to stay here in Marietta?
I fell in love with Marietta. I don't know how I found it, but I was living in Kennesaw and I was looking for a place to film some videos outside. And I came to Marietta. I sat on a little bench, right? That faces Schillings right outside the park. And I filmed a bunch of videos there. And then I started running, and I'd come to the Marietta Square and I'd start running through Kennesaw Mountain and all the streets. And it felt right. Marietta feels comfortable to me. It still has the benefit of being close to a big metropolitan area, but it still has that hometown feeling. People, you talk to people, you say, it's very comfortable for me. And I think coming from a broken home, I think it really kind of stems back to liking routine, liking security. And for me, Marietta feels very secure, and the people are just amazing. And I love the history of it. There's everything to love about Marietta for me.
That's great. And I want to thank you for all your time. This is important for me to be able to, because I'm, like I said earlier to you, I want to help Marietta businesses to see that you can grow a business using online resources. And you've grown from pretty much nothing to what you have now. But what are you doing now, and what does the future hold for Aaron Marino?
The future, I don't make 5-year plans. They've never worked out for me. But right now I'm focused on growing 2 businesses specifically. I have a hair product business, Pete and Pedro, which I just leased a big new warehouse off of All Good Road. I have a skincare company that's based out of Chicago that we're actively growing. And I'm going to continue to make my videos because at the end of the day, that's what I love doing. And so that's pretty much what the plan is. And the other plan is just try not to screw it up.
And stay off of, reality TV?
I'm not ruling it out. I've been approached many times by a bunch of different production companies wanting me to do something. But honestly, I'm busy. I love doing what I'm doing. And I feel fortunate every single day that I get to sort of work for myself and make a difference in people's lives. And it's pretty amazing.
We're excited to have you here in Marietta. And thanks so much for your time, Aaron. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Bill, you rock. Thank you so much. Now we see, when I see you at Starbucks, now we have even a better connection.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye.
I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Nowicki Media, which is my company. As a business owner, we want to reach our customers, but it's not that easy to reach them because there's so many distractions. That's where I can help. I create custom business videos that let you tell your unique story and start building customer relationships right away. And the process is super easy. Here's what Anna Brumby had to say about working with Nowicki Media. I've worked with Bill on several projects to create various historic videos for Brumby Hall and videos for the Brumby Chair Company. He does an amazing job and is so easy to work with. Wonderful end products every time. If you want to find out more, go to Nowicki Media and schedule your free consultation today.